Welcome back to the program. We are now joined by Chuck Newton, chair of the Sea Island Corridor Coalition. Chuck, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Kevin. Nice to be here.
Hey, so Chuck, tell us why the Sea Islands Coalition was formed and your functions.
Well, the coalition was formed about just short of 2 years ago. There was a spate of development activity here in northern Beaufort County that upset quite a few people, Walmart among them. The issue with Walmart, of course, had been long dispensed with, but there was a clear cutting of Oyster Bluff, 55 acres along Sam's Point Road that people got quite upset about and expected the county to redress. I think it was that and another development, Greenheath, which was a planned unit development wherein the developers were asking for a 50% increase in density, that really got people focused on development along the parkway, and was really the stimulus for getting the coalition organized.
Yeah, of course, those projects were covered thoroughly here on this program. Why do you believe the Sea Island Coalition is so needed?
Well, I think there is a need for a public voice in development decisions. Development decisions, by and large, are fairly closed down. There are relatively few people involved. It happens so often behind closed doors. It happens with very little public knowledge, by and large. And the coalition is really existing to try and provide some insight into the process and some information as the process moves forward. I think this is one of those organizations that if it didn't exist, someone would have to invent it.
Certainly. So, I mean, we talk about the Walmart property that was annexed by the city and regulated by the city. You talk about Greenheath, that of course is county property up on Ladies Island. What was the impetus for the formation of the coalition, and how are you congressing these different government agencies?
Well, I think one of the challenges with development in general, whether it be in Beaufort County or up country, is the fact that development is a very complicated process, and the way that it's managed is a complicated process. It's doubly difficult here along the parkway on Ladies Island, St. Helena, and east of Beaufort, because you've got city properties that have been annexed by the city, and you've got properties that are owned by or overseen by the county. So you've got two jurisdictions to deal with. There are multiple bodies that have been established between the city and the county to try and deal with these matters, and it's a fairly complicated process just to run around to all the meetings and make sure that A, you know what's going on, and B, that you're there to present a perspective. That's probably the most challenging part of what we do.
Yeah, a lot of times we see the food fight over who's going to pay for something that is mutually agreed is needed. Tell us about your achievements after 2 years in operation.
Well, we're always asked about that question. What have you guys really achieved? And my standard answer, and I think it's the right one, is I'm not sure we've achieved something specific, but I think we've been able to influence a number of things. I think the changes to the county tree ordinance, I think we can take some credit for. I think certainly Greenheath, stopping Greenheath, we can take credit for. We were very involved in the traffic study, which was recently approved up and down the line by the county. So I think it's not so much a question of pointing to specific achievements, but what have we done to influence the outcome of events?
Yeah, you're connected with Paul Somerville. He's the chair. He lives on Ladies Island. Of course, it's a pretty big owner up there doing Greenheath. Chuck, what do you want to see as the result this year? How can you measurably achieve success?
Well, there are a number of things coming up on the agenda. The Whitehall development at the base of the Woods Memorial Bridge on Ladies Island should be forthcoming quite soon from the developer. Certainly, that's one of the issues. Another big issue is the Ladies Island area plan, which was an initiative by the county, finally, to put together basically a comprehensive plan for Ladies Island. The announcement on the consultant to oversee that should be forthcoming in the next few days. Those are two major projects. A third overlying or underlying effort, though, that we want to focus on is just the whole issue of transparency. Development decisions, we think, should be out in public. They should get more sunlight. The public should be aware of when decisions are going to be made and who's responsible for getting them made and when they're going to be made, just as on a timely basis, just as much as the developers and the architects and the engineers that are involved in the projects.
All right, Chuck Newton is chair of the Sea Island Corridor Coalition. Chuck, we like to cover money and power on this show as much as possible. Understand you can come see us anytime you want.
Happy to do it, Kevin. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Chuck.